After 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. The judges score the contest 50-44, 50-45, and 50-45 for the winner by unanimous decision, Colby Covington.
Skills, but good is not enough. You can be great.
Fight fans, welcome back to Luxurytainment. As they say, stars make fights. I predict that Colby Covington beats Leon Edwards on 8 points decision. The last time out, Colby Covington cruised to a unanimous decision victory over his nemesis Masvidal. That fight came after weeks of trash talk between the former training partners. A few weeks after the fight, Covington was attacked outside of a Miami restaurant, resulting in a chipped tooth. Masvidal has been charged with an assault over this alleged incident. It's coming up to 6 months since we saw Covington in the cage, and many have wondered when the highly ranked welterweight would return to the cage and who he might face. That speculation has only intensified now that the 170-pound division has been shaken to its core by Leon Edwards' dethroning of Kamaru Usman, a man who has beaten Covington twice.
Fellow title contender Gilbert Burns recently said he had heard that the reason Covington has been so quiet is because he is suffering from serious neck and jaw injuries. Burns went as far as to speculate that Covington's injury were somehow related to the broken jaw he suffered in the technical knockout loss to Usman in 2019. Dana White was asked about these rumors concerning Covington. He shot them down, but didn't provide any specifics regarding Covington's health. Colby wants to fight, said Dana. He's ready to fight and we're making plans for him soon. Colby Covington is currently ranked second in the welterweight division, behind only Usman and the new champion Edwards. Behind Covington are Khamzat Chimaev, Gilbert Burns and Belal Muhammad. Chimaev is due to face Nate Diaz next month. Belal Muhammad also has a fight booked. If Covington was hoping to jump right back into a title fight, he probably has to wait. Dana White has been explicit in stating that Usman will receive an immediate rematch versus Edwards. Colby Covington came into the UFC in 2014 and won his first 3 bouts. In 2015, he suffered a submission loss and responded by going on a 7-fight winning streak. The last 3 of the fights in that streak were against Damian Maia, Rafael dos Anjos and Robbie Lawler. The run of wins earned him his first title shot at Usman. After losing that fight by a technical knockout, he rebounded with a win over Tyron Woodley. In 2020, Covington was awarded another title shot against Usman, which he lost by unanimous decision. The reaction that Colby Covington had to seeing Leon Edwards knocking out Kamaru Usman at UFC 278 is likely the same one shared by everyone watching around the world. Out of all the many rivalries that Usman has created over the years as welterweight champion, there was none with the same amount of bad blood as his feud with Covington. Despite having 2 action-packed fights where he pushed the then champ to the brink both times, chaos has never ceased to poke fun at and talk trash to Usman and vice versa. Given the nature of their beef and the fact that he has lost twice against Kamaru Usman, it is not surprising to think that Colby Covington was likely happy to see Leon Edwards upset the champ with an incredible head kick knockout. The final minutes of the UFC 278 main event, luckily there was a camera around to capture the raw reaction of the former interim champ when watching his rival get flatlined. posted to Twitter, you can see Covington react moments after the kick lands, and Usman is left staring into the ether, unconscious on the canvas. As was the case with most onlookers, the expression on his face was one of utter shock and amazement at what he had just witnessed. While unsurprising to see the shock on his face, Colby Covington must be thrilled at what this means for his chances of being a welterweight champion. Time will tell what ends up being next for the division, especially with Dana White already wanting to see a trilogy between Edwards and Usman in the UK. But having a fresh face atop this division means that chaos. Colby Covington has a path to that title that does not require a third fight with Usman.
Colby Covington's going to fight Leon Edwards. Leon, as champion, would be the underdog. If I was to bring you Leon versus Usman, they're going to fight again. Usman would be the favorite. Leon would be the underdog. If I was to bring into you Chimaev versus Edwards, Edwards is going to be the underdog. What about Gilbert Burns? Where's he fit in there? Those guys ever match up? I don't remember it. Edwards versus Gilbert Burns. Edwards is going to be the underdog. Does that matter? Because, I'll just remind you, that's been the same story told about Charles Oliveira, and it's been told that way for a period of time. And these are the things that people have to think of at 170 pounds. As much as Kamaru Usman is wanting to get in there with Leon right now, there is very good belief that he's not going to get that next. Let's just say, for an example, just to prove my point, that we keep things as is, which is the winner of Chimaev versus Diaz fights for the belt, which happens to be held right now by Leon. If we preserve that, today, right here on Tuesday, we're going to assume that Kamaru Usman can then take on the winner. But guys, that's going to be 6 months from now in a best case scenario. Half of a year. Do you know how long that is in MMA terms? People are not even going to remember that Kamaru was winning the fight and he took a kick and that was his only loss. Oh, and by the way, it's been 5 years since he had a loss and he was dominant. He hasn't even lost rounds. Like, all of these things that are 100% true aren't even going to be remembered. It's going to be a quick decision. They're not going to tear in this thing. There are not detectives like in a murder case that are breaking things down and talking to witnesses. It's going to be very quick. What is on the tip of my head? What is on the tip of my tongue? That's going to be whatever today's headlines are. And Kamaru's going to have to play the same game. He's going to have to interject himself with somebody. Not to mention, Kamaru is going to have a who's who list that he has to go through, and there's going to be a proposition. Do I want to go right into a world title fight? Do I want to go right back into a main event? Or could I sneakily eliminate the Chimaev, the Rachmanov, some of these up-and-comers? Could I quickly slip in to a number one contenders match in a co-main event spot that is only 15 minutes? All of these things have to be considered. And if you talk about, I want a world title, I want a world title. If the guy that you are planning on taking on gets defeated, if there's an upset and he's no longer the champion, what do you do with your message then? It's tough. There isn't a perfect answer here. There's no way to know what's going to happen. There's no way to know that a head kick is going to be heard around the world and that the championship is headed across the pond to England. There's no way to know that ahead of time. There's a lot of risk. But there's still guys with strategy and guys without it. And the guys that have the strategy and invoke it and play that game get the opportunity. Sometimes it goes their way, sometimes it goes to somebody else's. But it for sure will go to somebody else who played the same game, just happened to get the strategy right. It's very interesting to think of Leon that way. And it's a very good comparison against Charles. Charles is going into a fight just by example. He's on defenses. I get that Charles isn't the champion. I get that but he's going into defenses multiple times for being champion, not being beat. He's still the underdog. He's a 3-1 dog right now to Islam that at one point the line had moved to 3.5. 1. Nothing wrong with that, so what? I'm just making the comparison that Charles Oliveira versus the field has very similar odds as Leon Edwards versus the field.
So guys, who do you think, if this matchup does go ahead, who wins? Colby Covington or Leon Edwards? As style makes fights, I predict that Colby Covington beats Leon Edwards on a points decision. Let's just hope there's no jaw issues. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, share and comment, and have a fabulous day.
We go again.
Go, brother, let's go. I'm gonna get some smoke, bro.